Man, what is going on? What's going on, everybody? You already know what the fuck it is. It's SVT Vasquez back at it with another video, back at it with another banger, man. And today we're gonna be working on the Cobra bumper. I actually already started working on it, so I'll have footage of me last night taking it off, and I'll show you guys how to remove it. Okay guys, so we're working on removing the front bumper. I'm gonna be repainting it because of all the damage on it. As you can see, there's really big gouges on it. It's a lot of rock chips, and they go all the way to the plastic. So I'm gonna show you guys how to restore the bumper. There's two pins up here. You're gonna clip the bottom and unscrew the bolt, as well as this side right here. Under the car, there's two clips holding the bumper, and then inside the bumper wall there.
This is the driver's side wheel, the front. You're gonna have two bolts in the inside. That's the fender wall. Those two bolts are gonna have to come out to disattach the front bumper there.
Okay guys, so the bolts that you need to take out at the end are gonna be inside here, because I have a cold air intake that goes through here. I had to remove it, and I could reach the bolts through this hole. There's a bolt right there. It's a size 11, and then the other side of the hose there's another one, so you're gonna want to take those out. Okay guys, so as you can see, I took my bumper off. For now, I'm gonna go ahead and restore the bumper like I told you guys. And one of the things that I'm also gonna restore is these fog lights, because I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but there's a lot of rock chips on there, and this is because it sits so low to the ground. So I'm gonna remove these and put some new ones I got from LMR as well. For now, I'm gonna remove the bezels for it. It's fairly simple. There's I believe 4 bolts, 4 screws in the back for each of them. You take them out and you pull it out. Okay guys, so for this job you're gonna need all these materials you see here. First of all, safety. When spraying aerosol or any paint, you're gonna have to wear a mask, a respirator mask, so make sure you get one of these. Next, you're gonna have your clear coat. It's gonna be a 2K clear coat, as well as your choice of paint. I went with Automotive Touch-Ups because their website is so easy. You put in your make and model year, and they have all the colors that your vehicle has, and then you select the code that you want. And usually the code for your car is on the inside of your door. It's gonna be usually a letter with a number. You're also gonna need your degreaser, or in my case I went with alcohol. So that's gonna help you clean a lot of the surface, cleaning off the dust and degreasing the surface, as well as evaporating very quickly. So that's why I chose alcohol, because I don't have to wait long for it to dry. It evaporates. You're gonna need microfiber towels to clean the surface. You're gonna want to make sure that your surface is clean before you put down primer, before you put down paint, because if there's dust or debris underneath, your paint might lift up. And you're gonna need various types of sanding paper. So these are the finer sanding papers that I have. The one you don't see that I've already used is the 7 to 800 grit sanding paper, and that's for when you're sanding down the primer.
Okay guys, so I went ahead and cleaned the bumper already. Right here we have some flexible blocks to hold your sandpaper, and I got 1,500 grit wet sanding paper. You were gonna want to use the blocks, even though these are pretty expensive for some blocks. You're gonna want to use them because if you're applying pressure with your fingers on the sandpaper, the only pressure you're gonna get is on the fingertips, and you're not gonna get it even sanding all the way across. You're gonna get some areas that are sanded more than others. So with the block, it holds pressure a lot more evenly, and it helps you wet sand. So I'm just gonna go ahead and start wet sanding this. You wanna, if you're not sure what you're doing, you wanna work in stages, take your time. Prepping is main key when it comes to this, and all the work you put in it is gonna show in your end product, because for the Miata, that car slammed to the ground. I knew it was it's already getting chips again, but when I first did it, I didn't really pay attention to the prepping and how good it was gonna turn out, because I knew it's my daily, it's gonna get messed up. But with this one, I'm gonna take more care of it because it's not my daily, and I only take it out in special events. So I'm just gonna take my time, wet sand it down, and I'll show you guys how it looks after I wet sand it. Actually, I'll give you a look right now of what it looks like before I wet sand it. So I cleared up all the dirt and grease from the front and the back. This is what it looks like. It's pretty messed up. You see right there's a big old chip that's straight down to the plastic, and that's why I'm doing this job. So I'll go ahead and wet sand it and show you guys how it looks at the end. Okay guys, this is what it's going to be looking like after you wet sand it. It should have a matte black look, because what I'm doing is wet sanding the clear coat off. Any place that has like this where it looks shiny, that's clear coat, so I'm going to have to go ahead and wet sand it. There's a groove in there, so you don't want to get too rough on the grooves. That's why that's there, because what happens is that goes inside, but once you start hitting the inside, you start peeling off this, and you don't want to go down straight to the plastic. You want to leave the paint on top, so that when you spray paint on it, it has something to hold on to. It's a lot harder for the paint to hold on to the plastic, so that's why I'm taking the clear coat off. Once you get the whole bumper matte, the matte look without shiny stuff on it, you're gonna want to look for the area with the most chips. So the area with the most chips for me is gonna be this front fascia. So I'm gonna hit that part with a more aggressive sanding paper, so that it goes down to the plastic and it gouges deeper. Once I do that, I'm gonna spray it with primer to fill in those deep gouges, those chips and those scratches that the sandpaper is gonna give. Okay guys, so you could see right here there's a big old scuff. I'm gonna go ahead and sand it. This is a lot more rougher than what I used to take off the clear coat. This is gonna go down all the way to the plastic, and what I want to do is I want to smoothen out that area, because the plastic is really rough right here with the grooves that go in so deep. I'm gonna smoothen that area out, and once I spray the primer, it's gonna fill it in, and then I'm gonna go through it and sand it again so there's a smooth surface. Also with the big chips, I'm gonna do the same thing and scuff these up real good. Alright guys, so as you could see, I already wet sanded this area over here. Well, pretty much the whole bumper is wet sanded, and these rougher scuff marks is where the primer is gonna go. You're not gonna put primer on everything, because
primer is only gonna stick to your 240 grit sandpaper all the way to 400 grit sandpaper. So this is what I have here, 400 grit sandpaper. And any part that you see that's really dark, like all the front fascia pretty much on the bumper had rock chips, so that's what's gonna get primered on. And now that I sanded it all down, most of the chips could be filled up pretty quick. So what I'm gonna do is finish sanding the areas that have chips, and then we're gonna wipe it down with alcohol wipes and get the bumper as clean as possible. And that's when the primer is gonna be set, because primer is not gonna be able to hold on to the 1500 grit paint on this side. If I were to put primer on it and then lay my paint and my clear over it, over time that primer it won't attach to the body very well, so it might start chipping, and we don't want that. So I'm gonna go ahead and mask off the areas that I don't want primer on, and where you do get primer, if you do get some primer, what you're gonna do is blend it into the paint, so you're gonna feather it off, and that's how you take care of that problem, so that when you put your paint down, you don't see the primer line as well. So you're gonna blend it into the rest of the paint with sandpaper. And I'm not gonna show all that because I'm running short on time. This took me way longer than it had to, because I actually had to order this primer here. And this is I don't know if you guys could hear that, but it sounds like some cats having sex outside. That's what that sounds like a baby crying. But anyway, I had to order this primer here. It's a 2K primer, and this is what you're gonna want to use. So this has a hardening solution to it, and what you're gonna do is get the cap, the red cap here, and you're gonna press the bottom to release the solution to be able to mix, and then you're gonna mix it. And it's different from this primer here. You could use this primer for certain products, but because I want a better, because I want a higher quality finish for this, I'm gonna use the 2K and try to make it as professional as I can while using aerosol cans. This is as close as you're gonna get to a spray gun. This is almost as good as what the shops use, so that's why I'm gonna use this. So I'm gonna go ahead and set the primer down.
Oh, fuck.
Okay guys, before you get started, safety first, you're gonna want to wear a mask when you set down the primer. I already set down the primer, and this is what it's looking like. As you can see, all the scuff marks that were there before, they've all been filled in by the primer. And this 2K primer, it's the first time I actually use this primer. I usually use the one from AutoZone, and as you could see, it's holding down pretty smooth. Like, I doubt that I'm not even really gonna have to sand much of it, only where I excessively used it on accident. But other than that, it laid on pretty smooth.
Okay guys, so I already primered everything and I sanded down with 1000 grit sandpaper. And what you want to keep an eye out when you're sanding it down, everything looks pretty good, but I found right here, you see that imperfection? Once you're sanding it down with either 1000 or 1500, you're gonna be able to see these imperfections that you can't, that you might have not been able to see earlier, but because of the dust, you could see the imperfection right there. So I would have thought that this was ready to be painted, but once you start sanding it down, all that dust is gonna help you see all the imperfections. So this is what it's looking like with the primer ready. It just needs a little bit more of sanding down with a finer grit sandpaper, which I'm gonna go over it with 1500, and then it'll be ready to be sanded down. But this is the only imperfection I found so far. Other than that, everything else looks pretty good, and it's about ready for paint. I'm just gonna get everything ready, and then we'll start painting. So my bumper's ready for paint. As you can see, you're gonna want to cover anything that you don't want paint on. So I covered those chairs with trash bags. I make sure to cover the vehicles that are in my garage, and put down the tarp for the particles that are gonna fall. You're gonna get particles flying around, so anything that you don't want to be painted on, you want to make sure you cover it. So this is what my bumper's looking at right now. This is what my bumper's looking like right now. I'm gonna go ahead and give it one more clean with the alcohol and microfiber towel, and then I'll set down my first coat, and I'll show you guys how that goes.
Okay guys, for the time that I'm wearing a mask, I'm gonna do voiceovers because obviously I can't speak and explain to you guys what I'm doing at the same time. And I've actually been thinking of just working on my projects and doing voiceovers. So let me know what you guys like better. If you'd like me to I feel like when I'm explaining and then doing it in separate occasions, I'm wasting a lot more time than if I just show you guys and then do a voiceover. So let me know what you guys think works better for my videos. Here's the can that I'm using, and as you can see, it's the base coat. It says my code on there, and my vehicle's make, Ford. And they give you a little template so you could try on your paint every time before you go to paint. Don't just trust the logo on the aerosol can. Make sure that you test it on a template first and it's the right color. So I'm gonna go ahead and lay down my first coat. Your first coat's gonna be really quick. It's just gonna feather in some of that paint particles on the primer and the rest of the panel, just so that it sticks on there. After the first coat, you're gonna lay it on thicker, but for this time, just spray. Just it's not gonna cover everything. Just spray real quick. Okay, this is my second coat here, and for the second coat you're gonna lay it down a lot thicker, and between coats you're gonna wait about 5 to 10 minutes. You're not gonna wait too long. You make sure that any dirt or debris you tack now in between coats when the paint's drying, and to check if paint's drying, if you mask anything off, like I masked my lip, make sure and you touch that and make sure that's dry before you end up touching the bumper. You don't want to touch the bumper itself and find out that it's wet, because you're not going to be able to correct it. You're going to have to sand it down later. So touch something that like the masking tape that you're going to end up taking off anyway to check if it's dry. So you're gonna put down about 3 or 4 coats, depending on how well you put down your coats, because you might miss a couple spots. You might want to get the 4th one just to go over what you missed, but about three solid coats would be good for the primer. I mean, for the base paint. And make sure you get under and get the crevices, get the edges, get every hard to reach spot. You don't want to miss anything, so get down low and look for those areas that you missed, and make sure you look around and don't leave anything untouched. And for the clear coat, you're gonna want to take the cap off, the red cap off, put it on the bottom, and that releases the hardening chemical, and then you shake it up for 2 minutes. Once it's ready, you could adjust the tip if you wanted to spray vertically or horizontally. and then you're gonna want to put down your clear coat. So the clear coat, it's gonna go 15 to 20 minutes after your primer, because you want to let it dry a little bit more, and then you put your clear coat on. So with your clear coat, you're gonna want to be fast and smooth. You want to be about 10 to 12 inches away from the bumper. You want to start from the bottom and work your way down. Make sure that you do an even amount of clear coat, while making sure that you don't overspray and get runs, because then you're gonna have to sand that down and it doesn't look too good. But as for clear coat, it comes out faster than your paint does, so just make sure that you're quick and smooth. There's actually handles for these aerosol cans that you could use that work a lot more like a spray gun from a shop. I should have got that because my forearm was cramping up from pressing the button so much. But yeah, you want to get in those hard to reach areas, make sure that everything is covered, and try not to overspray. So for the clear coat, you're gonna want to spray about 2 or 3 wet coats. Make sure that you have a ventilated area, as you don't want that clear coat to get inside your house or stay inside the garage. So if you need to open the garage, as I did, make sure that it vents out and not indoors. After the clear coat dries, it's gonna be about 24 to 48 hours before you could wet sand the clear coat. Especially if it's cold or humid, it's gonna take a lot longer. So here in California right now, it's raining, so it's a lot colder. I'm gonna wait 3 to 4 days before I wet sand that clear coat and buff it out. For right now, it's gonna look rough, because clear coat is more of a liquid base than the paint coat. So you're gonna have, when you look at the ocean, it has it goes up and down in the little waves. It's the same thing in the clear coat. You're gonna have an orange peel, and that's what you sand out. And as you saw right there, I had a little bit of runs, but it's sandable, so I'm not worried about it. That's all the imperfections that had my... Okay guys, that's the end of the video. This is what I have so far. So this is all you guys are gonna see. After I wet sand and buff it, I'll post a video of how it looks like when it's back on the car. This was a long video. Thank you guys for sticking to the end. And this is what it takes for you to repaint something. If you want it to turn out nice, you gotta take your time with it. That's why in the video there was so many days I was in different clothes, because it took a couple of days sanding here and there. To be done, you could get a decent quality paint job with aerosol cans, but like I said in the beginning, it all starts with the prep work, and the prep work is gonna show at the end. Once I sand it and buff it, you're not gonna see these little bubbles that are on the clear coat here, and it's gonna look smooth all the way across. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.
I'm just all about this money, I don't think about no thoughts. Girl, you don't know about me, so get off my fucking D. Born and raised in the dot, this is real as you gon' see. Girl, you don't know about me, so get off my fucking D.